Hi friends, please settle down and close your eyes. So in the last lecture, we had begun with caste system. So, Bitya, give me a scholarly definition of caste. According to Andre Bete, very good. Caste is a small and named group of persons characterized by endogamy, a specific lifestyle, hereditary membership, a specific lifestyle associated with a traditional occupation, and complete it. थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ा गए. Can you complete it? हाँ. A distinct ritual status in a hierarchical system. Wonderful. ठीक है. Then, brother, what are the features of the caste system? Revise करो बेटा. हाँ, daily करो आधा पौना घंटा. Bitya, what are the features of the caste system? Hierarchy, ascribed status, caste panchayats, endogamy, prohibits mobility. ठीक है. Restrictions on food exchange and social interaction. ठीक है. These are the various this thing. Tell me something about caste panchayats. Present in every village. Every caste has its own panchayat comprised of the elders of the caste. Thank you. What does this do? What does this caste panchayat do? हिंदी में बोलिए. रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस का इंश्योर करता है कि वो पीपल स्टिक टू देम, द मेंबर्स ऑफ द कास्ट. और इंटरेस्ट को प्रोटेक्ट करता है. इन व्हाट सेंस स्पेसिफिकली ब्रदर? प्रिजर्व्स द मोनोपोली ऑफ द कास्ट ओवर इट्स ऑक्यूपेशन और solves disputes within the members of the caste. What kind of disputes? Marital, property, is type के disputes. Then we also discussed what? Varna नहीं, Varna. ठीक है. So, brother at the back, yes, making your hair, that one. हाँ. Sorry? Absent. Beauty of absent. Brother, raise your hand. No, at the back. हाँ. Orange and check shirt. हाँ. Tell me what is the relationship between caste and varn. Say. Not the best way of saying it. Brother? Caste is a regional or localized phenomena. Varn is a pan-India phenomena. Four Varn. Scores of castes. What is Jajmani? Wonderful. It is an system of economic, social and ritual exchange between different castes or families in the traditional village society. There are two types of castes. Jajmans and Kamins. Who are Kamins, बिटिया? बिटिया, Kamins कौन होते हैं? Kamins कौन होते हैं? Those castes, they are called service castes. Those who provide service. Jajmans are the recipients of service. ठीक है. Is it similar to a barter exchange? No. Why? It operates at the level of family. Intergenerationally it is transmitted. The Jajmani relationship. Yes, on special occasions the Kamins may provide extra kind of render, they will render extra help. So, who suggests that this caste system is cooperative, etc.? Or is it? Brother, yes? कि बढ़िया है. कास्ट नहीं, जजमानी मतलब कास्ट का ही एक भाई है. विलियम, प्रिंस विलियम? नो. William wiser. Are you any wiser with this knowledge? ठीक. And who criticizes the Jajmani system, बिटिया? Yes? Who? Beidelman criticizes the caste system on what grounds? The Jajmani system? It is exploitative and oppressive. इसके बाद कुछ पढ़ा था? Gotra. What is Gotra in passing? Brother? Exogamous clan. बस बढ़िया. ठीक है. और यही पढ़ा था. Who said sub castes are the fake castes? No one. Who said sub castes are the real castes? G.S. घूरे. ठीक है. पिताजी. चलिए अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. बिफोर दैट, ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स प्लीज कंफर्म दैट आई एम ऑडिबल. Okay, so couple of comments are here. Let me just take them up before proceeding. How to approach indirect questions asked in the exam. I am facing difficulty in taking a lot of time to frame answers for such questions. Firstly, at the time of preparation, try to ensure that you cover a fairly various dimensions of a question, right? So that a question, as far as possible, is not a surprise. है ना? And how do you do that? Based on PYQs. PYQs are a fairly good indicator of the kind of questions that can be asked from any topic, and which is also there in the weekly assignments. So one is as thorough preparation as possible. The second is, don't get flustered. Okay, if a question still comes which is you are not prepared for, then don't get flustered when you see it. Try to decipher what the question is asking of you, and then accordingly frame a response. And the key word here is quickly. You can't spend too much time in trying to address the demand of an indirect question. If it is not striking you, if it's an optional one, try skip it. Simple. Out of 8 questions, we have to attempt 5. So out of 6 questions, we have to choose 3. So, if possible, and you're not comfortable, not able to think up quickly, try skip the indirect question. And thirdly, how you address them, you will learn a decent this thing and you will become faster at it with practice. So you practice addressing indirect questions, that will fasten your thinking process and your writing and everything. So that is what you can do, Rana. Some student help me, my cursor is lost. Somebody? No? Huh? नहीं रीस्टार्ट नहीं जरूरत होनी चाहिए, वो कर्सर नहीं मिल रहा, वो मिल जाता है कुछ करके कई बार. If anybody can help me, please do. Is the evaluated copy uploaded? I don't know which copy you are talking about, and that you'll have to ask the tech support. Priya. I didn't get the meaning of subcaste is the real caste. Subcaste is the real caste. So this statement is attributed to G.S. Ghure. What he means is that they are the ones which are the operative units. In other words, if a caste is divided into subcaste, like we took the example of Teli caste being subdivided into Ek Bel, Do Bel, Teli, etc. Then these subcastes are the endogamous units. So an Ek Bel Teli cannot marry a Do Bel Teli. These subcastes are occupation specific. These subcastes are hierarchically arranged. So they are not equal in the local caste hierarchy. If an area has both Ek Bel Teli and Do Bel Teli, one would be superior to the other. Okay, that is what we mean when we say, or that is what kya naam hai tumhara, Ghure means when he says subcastes are the real caste. And his critics point out that if that is the case, why do you even call them subcaste? You should call them caste. That, Ek Bel Teli and Do Bel Teli, for all practical purposes, should be treated as different castes. ठीक? तो ये है. चलिए अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. See, we begin our today's discussion with a comparison of caste with class. Do a quick. I would say the logic of the critics of Ghure appeals to me. Okay? From a practical and an academic standpoint, their argument is quite appeals to me that the subcaste should be treated as separate castes. फिर what is the question? है ना, कास्ट एंडोगैमस है, बट नहीं तो सबकास्ट इज अ फर्जी कॉन्सेप्ट. दैट्स व्हाट द क्रिटिक्स आर सेइंग ना. यू ट्रीट देम एज सेपरेट कास्ट्स because each is an endogamous unit. So we do use the term endogamy very regularly with caste. So no two views about it. Caste is an endogamous group. ठीक है? The defining feature of caste in fact is endogamy. ठीक है? So don't have any sort of doubts about this while writing or anything. चलिए अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. Discussing caste society in comparison to class society. So in the last lecture we have become somewhat acquainted with caste as a system. We are already familiar with class system. We have discussed at sufficient length in paper 1. Even otherwise, we know that people can be divided in terms of high class या upper class, middle class and lower class. ठीक? I need not even teach this topic. You tell me, how do the two systems fare in comparison? All right. So caste is, what kind of a status is caste? It is an ascribed status, while class is an achieved status. When we say caste is ascribed, we mean that caste is determined by birth. When we say class is achieved, which means that you attain a class position or a position in the class society based on your hard work, etc. Yes or no? Or out of your own doing. Simply, if I am born poor, can I become middle class? Yes, I can. So it is an achieved status. ठीक? In modern industrial society or a class society. और बताइए. Raise your hands and speak, please. Bitia. Absolutely. So social mobility is prohibited in caste society and permitted in class system. ठीक? Therefore, meaning you can change your class, you cannot change your caste. Therefore, caste society is known as a closed society, while class society is कैसी? An open society. Right? और बताइए. Yes. Absolutely correct. Caste is present in which society? Caste is present where? In Indian society. While class is present universally in every society. हर समाज में कुछ कम कुछ ज्यादा संपन्न लोग मिल जाएंगे. Some people will have more wealth, some will have lesser wealth, some will have medium amount of wealth. ठीक? बट बनिए कहां मिलेंगे? जाट कहां मिलेंगे? इंडिया में. ठीक? और today I learnt a new thing in the previous lecture and I found it very impressive. This. है ना? Really. Thank you, thank you. This was caste. Okay. And this is class. One sec, bitia. Sorry? Karu. But it's big enough. Why do I need to zoom? नहीं, I'll get trained later. ठीक है. और बताइए, tell me differences. How do you compare the two systems, brother? It's not a good thing to say. He is saying that class system has only 3 strata. There are only 3 classes, while castes are thousands. It's not the best thing to say because in class stratification also you can further subdivide. Frequently you do. So you have an upper class, and middle upper class, lower upper class, middle upper class. समझ गए ना? 9 ऐसे ही बन सकती है. ठीक है? So it's not best to say that. That we spoke of, that class facilitates mobility while caste prohibits it. Brother? Absolutely. So what is it a hierarchy of? Both are hierarchical systems, but caste is a hierarchy of, class is a hierarchy of wealth, while caste is a hierarchy of ritual purity. Brother? Sorry? Complete your sentence. Like what you say? That's a very different this thing. But class is conventionally understood. Thanks a lot. It is a wealth or income based, property ownership based Stratification. Okay, we'll avoid Weber for now, but ठीक है, you're right. हाँ. Okay, let me just modify that. Varna nahi, Varna. हाँ. Let me slightly modify that. I will say that the caste system find its basis or justification in religious scriptures. Of which religion? Christianity? Hinduism? Of course, Hinduism. Caste system finds its basis or justification in the religious scriptures of Hinduism. While there is no religious basis of class system. ठीक? Also, what is the defining feature of caste? Huh? What did you say, Bitya? Na. Endogamy. अर्थात you must marry within your own caste. And in क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? Class system? Exogamy. No. Very wrong to say that. 1 second. Exogamy means the rule is that you must marry outside the group. ऐसा होता है क्या? In class society, that you must marry somebody from outside your class. That if you are rich, you must marry poor. No. But endogamy is not a prescribed rule, simply. Can a lower class woman marry an upper class man? Yes, you can. ठीक है ना? You can marry across class boundaries. There is no rigid rule of endogamy the way it is in caste system. Tell me, friends, how many of you have friends and acquaintances belonging to a different class than yours? Say you are rich and you have friends who are middle class, or you are middle class and have rich friends. Do you have that? Freely? Do you do pappi jhappi with them freely? Again, whatever. You get the picture, right? In other words, there are no restrictions on social interaction or intercourse. No rigid restrictions governing social interaction or restricting social interaction across classes. We can have friends, we can eat with, work with people belonging to other classes. Yes or no? Caste system? Can you share the hookah, be pappi jhappi across castes? No. There are strict rules prohibiting or governing interaction across castes. Yes or no? किससे क्या खाना ले सकते हो and all that jazz. ठीक? In which of these two systems is self-identification stronger and clearer? Caste or class? Caste or class? Caste. In caste system, there is a very clear and strong self-identification. Matlab, people have a very clear awareness to which caste they belong. Yes or no? While self-identification with one's class may be weak or even incorrect. So am I rich or middle class? It could be anything. Many of us are rich, but feel middle class. Because we have been raised in a middle class kind of a, with middle class values. Yes or no? Or we had a middle class background. Even if we are now rich, we continue to feel we are middle class. Yes or no? But have I ever wondered कि मैं बनिया हूं या जाट हूं? कहीं गुजर तो नहीं? No, never. One's identification with one's caste is crystal clear. Yes or no? Why is this? Why is it that we may not, or we do not so strongly identify with our class the way we identify with our caste? Both are strata or, social identities. Huh? Absolutely. Brother? Simply, friends, your class can and does change. I may have been born in a humble background, in a poor family, and become middle class. Yes or no? It can change over generations or within the same generation. Right? That is why my sense of identification with my class is not so permanent, so, ever present. But caste, does it change? No. And for how long? Since generation. Should I go back? Since when we have been banyas. Yes or no? तो ये मेरी सोच नहीं है, 500 साल की सोच है कि मैं बनिया हूं. Clear? So clearly caste system and class system are very different from each other. Which of the two is better or preferable? Class or caste? Class? Do we have a near unanimity on this issue? Where would you rather be? In caste society or class society? Class society. And why is that? Why this near unanimous preference for class society or class system? Brother? Simply, I am not constrained by my birth, by the accident of birth. So that is the key feature, distinguishing feature between class and caste society. That caste society ties you down to the accident of your birth, while class society enables you to realize your full potential irrespective of background. Theek? Or that mobility is prohibited in caste society and it is very much possible in class society. Yes or no? Yes or no? No. No. Why we say no, friends? Please appreciate. This is a very, should I say, superficial or incomplete understanding of both caste system and class system. In reality, friends, no society is fully open and no society is fully closed. लिखो ना कि no society is fully open or fully closed. Class society, okay, or class system in modern industrial society, is it a fully open system. Yes or no? You have studied about this in paper 1. Yes or no? Is it a fully open system? Does your birth and background matter in class society, in modern industrial American society? Yes. So we have studied studies in paper 1 like the Pursuing American Dream. किसकी थी? Pew Research की. क्या बताया था? There is a lot of stickiness. People have very little chance from rising from the bottommost to the topmost. So साफ बात है, parental income matters, race matters, gender matters or affects social mobility, opportunities even in class society. क्या ब्लैक्स और व्हाइट्स के पास अमेरिका में इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं? नहीं है. लिखो, नो सोसाइटी इज फुल्ली ओपन और फुल्ली क्लोज्ड. फुल स्टॉप. देर इज अ सर्टन डिग्री ऑफ क्लोजर even in the class system. There is a certain degree of closure even in the class system. Full stop. Class system of modern industrial societies. ऐसे कर दो. There is a certain degree of closure even in the class system of modern industrial societies. Full stop. For instance, the report titled Pursuing the American Dream by Pew Research. Points out that factors like parental income and race significantly affect a person's income. In American society. ठीक? Full stop. Similarly, the caste system is not fully closed. The caste system is not fully closed. समझ गए? अर्थात we will now move on to discussing mobility in the caste system. अब मैं फ्रेंड्स आपको ब्राह्मण बन के दिखाऊंगा. Let us see. So how can mobility take place in caste society? Raise your hands and speak. Brother? Meaning what? Don't throw fancy words and concepts at me. Simple bhasha mein. हम सिंपल भाषा भूल ही जाते हैं वंस वी बिकम मास्टर्स एट अ सब्जेक्ट. बट ठीक है. हाँ बिटिया, 1 second, sorry. But what do you mean? Have, because I'm speaking, I'm saying what do you mean? So if I imitate a Brahmin, do I become a Brahmin? No, I do not. Necessarily क्या? I do not. ठीक है? I do not become a Brahmin by dressing up like a Brahmin or whatever. Bitya. ठीक है, absolutely. And what is this process called? Sanskritization. So Sanskritization is one of the ways we'll be discussing. She has, as rightly articulated, the lower caste adopt some sort of cultural traits from the higher caste, and that then they claim a higher status. Okay, we will be talking about it. One of the ways. Any other? Bitya? नहीं, मैरिज से नहीं होती. शायद ये सांगवान में भी लिखा हुआ है कि मैरिज इज अ सोर्स ऑफ मोबिलिटी, एंड इट्स नॉट राइट टू से. मैरिज इज, 1 second, मैरिज इज नॉट अ सैंक्शनड वे ऑफ इंप्रूविंग वंस रैंक इन द कास्ट हायरार्की. से in fact it leads to further deterioration in the sense, if क्या नाम है तुम्हारा, if a Shudra man marries a Brahmin woman, the offspring, the children born of such a union become Chandal. ठीक है, pushed further down the caste hierarchy. हाँ brother. He is saying after independence, many communities claimed a higher status and got themselves registered at a higher level, which is incorrect. Reason being, after independence, we have officially not noted down people's castes, except for the scheduled castes. The caste, and that is the whole debate around the caste census. Various parties are today demanding that a caste census nationally should be conducted like has been done in Bihar. Okay, but we have not been doing this after independence till date, brother.
I don't know whether it is true, but with the process of Sanskritization, I guess they start imitating the higher caste, and with the passage of generations, they make themselves and others believe that they belong to a higher caste.
Yes, that is correct. Sanskritization is one of the ways, as she also had earlier pointed out, and you have reiterated, correct, and we will be talking about it. So there are various ways, one of which is Sanskritization. There are various ways through which mobility is possible in the caste system as follows. First is, friends, acquisition of political power. Acquisition of political power. Simply, friends, over this, India's long history, people from numerous castes have acquired political power. They've captured the throne, and once they capture the throne, once they become kings, they then claim Kshatriya status. Are you with me? And this has happened numerous times. Numerous instances in Indian history where people from non-Kshatriya castes have captured political power, and once having captured power, they then claim Kshatriya status, or confer upon themselves Kshatriya status, and get the local Brahmins to sanctify your Kshatriya status. In fact, there is this historian K.M. Panikar. K.M. Panikar. Panikar suggests, friends, that the Nandas, when did these Nandas exist? 5th century BC. Nandas were the last true Kshatriyas. Meaning what? That various dynasties and rulers who have ruled different parts of the country since, they have come from a non-Kshatriya background. And once they attain political power, then they become Kshatriya. Numerous instances. The Pals of Bengal. ये तुम्हारे नंदास को किसने हराया था? मौर्य ने, चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य ने. क्या ओरिजिन्स थे मौर्य के? लोअर नॉन क्षत्रिय ओरिजिन्स थे. आर यू विद मी? मौर्य डिनेस्टी हो गई, गुप्ता डिनेस्टी हो गई. यस और नो? गुप्तास कौन थे? Numerous instances. Even those which are today considered as blue-blooded or royal clans and lineages, such as the proud Rajputs, the mighty Marathas. समझ रहे हैं आप? There is a very good chance, no matter which caste you come from, we will find in this class, ironic, in this class, people from diverse caste backgrounds. There is quite likely there has been some ruler somewhere in some part of the country at some point in its history from your caste. Quite likely. भरतपुर में जाट रूलर था, गुर्जर्स रूलर रहे हैं. समझ रहे हैं? ये सारे नॉन क्षत्रिय बैकग्राउंड से आए थे. सो एक्विजिशन ऑफ पॉलिटिकल पावर हैज बीन वन इंपॉर्टेंट मैकेनिज्म फॉर मोबिलिटी इन द कास्ट सिस्टम हिस्टोरिकली. ठीक? Another mechanism for mobility in the caste system. What do you do if you cannot acquire or capture political power? What's the next best thing? हाँ नहीं, ट्रेड वगैरह नहीं. भैया, you become close to those who have power. साफ बात. So several communities have acquired a higher rank in the caste hierarchy by royal patronage, being close to the rulers who would then grant them a higher status. अगर राजा नहीं तो राजा की दोस्ती भली. And the classic example of a community, of a caste which has attained social mobility through this method by being close to the rulers. Thanks. Are the Kayasth community. Now, Kayas, their caste occupation, their traditional occupation has been as scribes and accountants. They are people of pen and letters. Okay? In fact, there were some students who were mentioning that, we worship the pen, etc. I suspect they would belong to this community. Nevertheless, so point is that Kayasths, okay, very common, Amitabh Bachchan is Kayasth. Surnames like Srivastav and Mathur. Okay, these are Kayasths. So, Kayas, since they were, educated and they served various rulers as accountants and scribes. And due to their proximity to the rulers, gradually their origins were non-Dvij. And from non-Dvij, gradually they became Dvij. What do we mean by Dvij, non-Dvij? Basically, you have 4 Varn: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. The first 3, Brahmin castes of the first 3 Varn, Kshatriya and Vaishya, are considered as Dvij, while Shudra are non-Dvij. In the sense, Dvij means literally twice born. Twice born. So, members of these 3 castes, castes belonging to these Varn, they were permitted access to education. So, they undertook the Upanayan or the sacred thread ceremony. Sacred thread मतलब जो जनेऊ होता है वो पहनते थे, which indicates education. So it's like education से आपका दूसरा जन्म हुआ है. सबका पहला जन्म माँ के पेट से होता है, and through education it's like a second birth. Okay. So Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya castes who had access to education, they could undergo the Upanayan ceremony or, a second birth. So they were considered as Dvij castes. While Shudra were considered as non-Dvij. So, Kayasths were non-Dvij in their origins, but gradually they became Dvij. In Dvij, which one? In some parts of the country, Kayas claim to be Brahmins. In some parts of the country, they claim to be Kshatriyas. So we simply say Dvij. ठीक? Clear? I said another way of attaining mobility in the caste system is through royal patronage. For example, the Kayasth caste, whose traditional occupation was as scribes and accountants. Okay? They served various ruling dynasties, and though they had Shudra origins, over time they graduated to become Dvijvarna. What is? Upanayan ceremony is the sacred thread ceremony. When, what do you call? You acquire education, you undergo the Upanayan ceremony, you start wearing the janeu. Okay, it's like a thread, which indicates like a second birth. So only members of the Dvij castes could undergo the Upanayan ceremony. ठीक? Wait, later maybe. Another way of mobility in the caste system is through renunciation. Renunciation. What do you mean by renunciation? Tyag. So those who renounce worldly pleasures, wealth, social ties, ठीक है? हिंदी में कहावत है फ्रेंड्स, यू मे हैव हर्ड, कि जात ना पूछो साधु की. साधु संत जो होते हैं, जात इज कास्ट. You don't bother with their caste identity. Why? Because having renounced this worldly material possessions, etc., they become beyond the pale of caste. Are you with me? कास्ट किस चीज के लिए काम आती है? सोशल एक्सचेंज को गवर्न करने में. मेरा इनके साथ कैसे मुझे व्यवहार करना है और इनके साथ कैसे करना है, वो मेरी और इनकी जातियों पे निर्भर करेगा इन दी ट्रेडिशनल कास्ट सोसाइटी. बट साधु सन्स हु रिनाउंस material possessions and social life are considered as beyond the pale of caste. समझ रहे? साधु संत कोई सामने आता है तो उसकी जात पूछते हो क्या? उसके सामने झुकते हो? नहीं झुकते हो? झुकते हो. मतलब यू एक्नॉलेज, yes or no, irrespective of caste. समझ गए? हैव यू एवर बॉदर्ड कि रामदेव की कास्ट क्या है, या क्या नाम है तुम्हारा, जग्गी वासुदेव, क्या नाम है उनका, सदगुरु की कास्ट क्या है, या श्री 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 रविशंकर की कास्ट क्या है? और ये तो सारे भोगी बाबा हैं. दे आर नॉट लाइक रिनाउंसिएट्स ऑल्सो प्रॉपर, है ना? आई सेड भोगी. ओके. So those who renounce, they are considered as beyond the day-to-day, concerns of caste. ठीक? Another way of mobility in the caste system. I deliberately chose this color. What is the color of renunciation in Hinduism? It is Bhagwa, है ना? खैर, क्या कहते हैं, another way of mobility in the caste system, another avenue became open during the colonial period. During the colonial period. What was that? It was the census. When the census was conducted during the colonial times, the enumerators, the census officials, not only noted down persons' caste, but also created a hierarchy. They also noted down so what you were saying was not after independence, during the colonial period. You only got the time wrong, but yes, the idea was right. So, during the colonial period, several communities petitioned the government or the census officials claiming a higher caste status. Claiming a higher status in the ritual hierarchy. I repeat, during the colonial period, many communities petitioned the government or the census officials claiming a higher status in the ritual hierarchy. ठीक? To substantiate these claims, many communities frequently faked genealogies. They created a fake genealogy to basically, suggest that they have descended from some god or great king in the ancient past. Communities like Yadavs, Patels, Mahato, and numerous others made such claims. Patidars are whom we know as Patels. So, several communities petitioned the British government, and they would typically fake descent from some great kings, warriors, thus claiming a higher this thing. For example, Yadavs are who? Descendants of Sri Krishna. Krishna ji was Yaduvanshi. He was also a cow herder, like we are. Are you with me? Now, mostly such claims were rejected. Okay, these claims were not easily accepted by the census officials. But whenever they were accepted, it led to mobility. क्यों? It was like an official stamp of approval. सरकार ने कह दिया, लिखित दस्तावेजों ने, सरकारी दस्तावेजों ने कह दिया, तो आप हो गए हायर. ठीक? Why the British rejected such claims? They primarily relied upon Brahmin informants to decide upon the relative ranking of different castes. ठीक है? खैर, another important mechanism for mobility in the caste system. May I proceed, or do you want a minute or so to complete writing something? May I proceed? Chaliye. So, another mechanism for mobility in the caste system, which we'll be discussing at some length, is Sanskritization. Sanskritization. Now, I'll dictate also, but first let's quickly understand. It's a simple thing. This concept was given by who? Sri M. N. Srinivas. Now, I'll be dictating, but I'm just explaining first. So, what Srinivas observed, that lower castes and oftentimes tribes also, they were copying some cultural elements, lifestyle of the higher castes. And it is this process that he called Sanskritization. Initially, in fact, he used the term Brahminization. He first gave the concept of Brahminization because he initially thought that it is the Brahmins who are imitated. So Brahminical lifestyle is copied by the lower caste, so he used initially the term Brahminization. But then he later on discarded this term Brahminization in favor of the term Sanskritization. Why? Because he realized that it is not necessarily or always that only Brahmins are copied. It could be other Dvij castes or other higher castes also. Okay? But some, basically Sanskritic culture was being adopted by the lower caste. So the term Sanskritization he eventually preferred over Brahmanization. So what would a lower caste do when they undergo Sanskritization? Various things. For example, उनका जो पहनना ओढ़ना होता है, the way of dressing up, they could start imitating the high castes. They could change their food habits during Sanskritization or, imitating the local higher caste. For example, if in the local area, the Brahmins are important and the Brahmins are vegetarians. So, if a lower caste is undergoing Sanskritization, if it has been traditionally non-veg, they may give up non-veg foods from their diet, they may discard them and adopt vegetarianism. That is an example of Sanskritization. If the lower castes were earlier, say, freely consuming alcohol, but the local Brahmins or the higher caste shunned alcohol. So the lower caste may also give up alcohol consumption and become teetotalers. ठीक? ब्राह्मणों की या हायर कास्ट की तरह तिलक लगाना. हाँ, ये सब चीजें क्या है? संस्कृताइजेशन. ठीक? लिखो फिर. According to M. N. Srinivas, Sanskritization refers to the process by which guys pick up speed, I'll now speak at 1.5x by which a lower caste or tribe takes up or imitates the rituals. For example, friends, अगर पहले नहीं करते थे, that Sanskritizing lower caste may start performing the उपनयन ceremony, sacred thread ceremony, जनेऊ पहनने लगेंगे. ठीक है? क्या लिखा है बेटे? Imitating the rituals, customs, beliefs, language, and lifestyle of Brahmins or other higher castes in bracket, frequently Dvij Varna castes. Bracket, close. In order to, what was the purpose of Sanskritization? Why would they imitate? Higher what? In terms of ritual hierarchy or secular, non-religious hierarchy? In order to improve their ritual rank. In order to improve their ritual rank. ठीक? Next para. For example, a Sanskritizing lower caste may adopt vegetarianism, and give up alcohol consumption. In imitation of the local Brahmins. Full stop. It may start wearing the dhoti, sporting tilak, and chewing betel nut. बीटल नट होती है सुपारी अंग्रेजी में. तो ये ब्राह्मण लोग सुपारी बहुत खाते थे, ठीक है, तो हम उनकी तरह सुपारी भी चबाने लगेंगे. चूइंग बीटल नट लाइक द लोकल ब्राह्मण्स. फुल स्टॉप. A Sanskritizing lower caste may start performing the sacred thread ceremony. या उपनयन ceremony. And going on pilgrimage to distant holy places. Full stop. It may start using Sanskritic concepts and terms in its daily vocabulary. क्या सांस्कृतिक कॉन्सेप्ट? जैसे धर्म, कर्म, ऐसी बातें करने लगेंगे. मोह, माया, पाप, पुण्य, समझ रहे हैं? ऐसे हमारी शब्दावली में या डेली बातचीत में हम इस्तेमाल करने लगेंगे. फुल स्टॉप. A Sanskritizing lower caste may withdraw its women from working outside the home जनरली आप बताओ हु आर मोर patriarchal in terms of mindset and practices, the higher caste or the lower? Higher castes. ठीक है? So when a lower caste undergoes Sanskritization, it may also adopt those patriarchal practices, mindsets and structures. ठीक है? लिखो. It may, क्या लिखा है बेटी? Withdraw its women from working outside the home, comma, start taking या start the practice of dowry. हम भी दहेज लेंगे. And may develop the patriarchal joint family system. ठीक. तो ये है संस्कृताइजेशन. वील डिस्कस इट एट लेंथ लेटर ऑल्सो व्हेन वी डिस्कस एम.एन. श्रीनिवास's व्यूज ऑन कास्ट. We'll explore some other dimensions. Just one thing I want to know from you guys. Does this thing matter today? What we are discussing under Sanskritization, or tell me if I'm wrong if I say that nobody cares for Sanskritic culture today. साफ बात है, do we want to adopt Sanskritic culture or bhasha? Which bhasha do we want to adopt if I am an aspirational community? English. I will want my children to know and speak in English, not Sanskrit. मोह माया वगैरह क्या outdated concepts हैं. So today we are under great influence of westernization. Sanskritization seems very outdated. Simply धोती वोती पहनने में हम कंसर्न है क्या कि लोकल ब्राह्मण की तरह तिलक लगाएंगे, धोती पहनेंगे, ये सब. अब हम क्या पहनना चाहते हैं? जीन्स और टी शर्ट, ब्रांडेड क्लोथ्स, एक्सपेंसिव फोन्स, etc. So is it fair to say then that Sanskritization is, outdated the concept? What is your sense? Or do you still see it? Forget sociology. But what we have discussed, lower castes imitating higher castes, okay, or adopting some lifestyle choices, etc. of the higher castes. What is your layman experience? What have you seen around you? Does it matter, all of that, or not? अपने पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंसेस से बताइए. एनीथिंग? या नहीं देखा तो ये बताइए कि नहीं है. किसी ने कुछ नहीं देखा? ब्रदर? शी वॉज okay, so he is talking about some person he knew that person belonged to general category and tried to get an OBC certificate. That is not Sanskritization. In fact, if anything, it is the opposite of it. ठीक है, brother? Where? In Maharashtra, हाँ. In rural area या city? हाँ. Which city? अकोला, हाँ. गंगा जल से घर साफ किया, हाँ, देवी जी को चढ़ावा चढ़ाया, सम सच थिंग्स. बिल्कुल. और बताइए. वेयर? इन कॉलेज. I didn't understand. He used to eat chicken and he used to regret eating chicken. जैसा अन्न वैसा मन. हाँ. So was that Sanskritization, or maybe he already belonged to a high caste wherein non-veg or chicken eating was prohibited, or maybe it was veganism. हाँ, कि वो वीगन हो रहा था, ये भी ट्रेंड चल रहा. He was relating it to religion. हाँ, brother. हाँ. Following Buddhism, sorry, is not a good way of explaining Sanskritization. No. Ambedkar rejected Hinduism and adopted Buddhism as a protest, as a form of protest. Brother?
So I have an opposite like instance.
Opposite. हाँ. Opposite तो हो ही रहा है. हाँ.
So in our village there is a family, Brahmin family, only one family, but that elder Brahmin every day he drank.
अच्छा. He's saying in his village, where is this?
West Bengal.
In West Bengal, the elderly Brahmin, okay, of the only Brahmin family in the village, is always daily drunk. Huh? हाँ, बिटिया, what's happening in Haryana or UP? हाँ, where? Haryana. हाँ, हाँ. What is it? Okay. Community also. Brother? कहाँ पे? अयोध्या. हाँ, श्री राम की नगरी. हाँ, हाँ, ठीक है, ठीक है. So lower castes are adopting the surname of higher caste, which is all right, but that alone does not constitute Sanskritization. ठीक है, because it involves a lifestyle change, है ना? बिटिया? A college friend's brother's wedding where? In Rajasthan. Yes. Yes. So a very good example that belonging to a certain lower caste, during their wedding rituals, they were wearing outfits which are typically worn by higher castes, you know, in a Rajasthani wedding or by the Rajputs. ठीक है. So point is, friends, कि westernization may be the, you know, what should I say, a very important influence in our lives today. Okay, but Sanskritization is not to be rubbished. It is not out of the window for sure. Not just these few people who have contributed, most of us. For example, tell me, how many of you have taken a bath today? Not all castes and communities are required to take a daily bath. बट आज के दिन हम हर कोई नहायो ना नहायो हाथ खड़ा कर देंगे कि हम नहा के आए हैं, है ना? डीओ लगा के बोलेंगे कि हम नहा के आए हैं. दिस इज व्हाट? Sanskritization. In how many of our houses yagya etc. are conducted? Raise your hands. Example of Sanskritization. How many of us, you know, listen to bhajans, kirtans, okay, or in our families, if not us personally? Are you with me? Example of Sanskritization. Go to pilgrimages. तीर्थ स्थानों पे जाते हैं या रहते हैं. हाँ, Sanskritization. ठीक है? So it is clearly, and across castes and communities, people are going to pilgrimages in larger numbers, listening to religious bhajan kirtans and क्या होते हैं वो pravachans, right? In larger numbers. All of these are indicative of the process of Sanskritization. Long story short, Sanskritization is not dead. or irrelevant to our times. More on it later. ठीक है, on Sanskritization. No, sorry, hold it, huh? Thanks a lot, beta. Thank you. Chale? Now friends, tell me, so we have discussed various ways in which mobility is possible in the caste system. And we have also noted that even in class society, birth matters. Socio-economic background matters, determines life chances, opportunities, access to opportunities, etc. Given that some degree of mobility is possible in both caste society and class society, can we say there is not too much difference between the two? Can we then equate caste with class? कि लगभग same ही है. Will that be a correct statement to make? Or let me narrow down the scope. Is it correct to state that the nature of mobility in the caste system is similar to mobility in class system? Is that a correct statement to make? Yes or no? No. Very importantly, no. Though mobility exists in both caste society and class society, there are important differences between the two. I repeat, though mobility exists in both caste system and the class system, there are important differences between the two. अरे So how is mobility in caste society any different from mobility in class society? For one, please appreciate, in caste society or in the caste system, theoretically, mobility is prohibited. Theoretically, mobility is prohibited in the caste system. In other words, the system itself does not encourage mobility or provide any avenues for mobility. Right? So any mobility in the caste system is despite the system. In contrast, in class society, theoretically mobility is possible and permitted. Not just possible and permitted, it is encouraged. The society itself provides channels or avenues for mobility. समाज बताता है तुम कैसे अपनी क्लास पोजीशन बदलो. कैसे बदलो? कैसे अमीर बनूं? हार्ड वर्क, और बोलते जाओ, एजुकेशन से, स्किल एक्विजिशन से, इनोवेशन से, यस और नो, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, समझ गए, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप से, यस और नो. सिस्टम सपोर्ट करता है, प्रोवाइड करता है कि कैसे आगे बढ़ा जाए. वहां पे सिस्टम प्रतिबद्ध करता है, रोक लगाता है, उसके बावजूद होती है इन कास्ट सोसाइटी. क्लियर? I repeat, in caste society, theoretically mobility is prohibited. In class society, the society encourages and provides avenues for mobility. ठीक? In which of these two societies you expect a higher rate of mobility? Class या caste? Class या caste? Class. So clearly the rate of mobility is lower in caste society and higher in class society. मतलब ज्यादा हलचल, ज्यादा मूवमेंट आप किधर देखोगे? अक्रॉस स्ट्राटा, क्लास सिस्टम में than in caste system. ठीक? You will find people changing their social location more frequently, or a larger number of people in case of class society than in caste society. Also, what is the unit of mobility in class system? Who becomes rich when there is upward movement? It is the individual. And along with the individual, his family. तो अगर मेरे पास पैसा आ गया, if I acquire wealth, I become rich, and with me my family becomes rich. So the unit of mobility is the individual in class system. What is the unit of mobility in caste system? Can I become higher caste? You tell me. What is the unit of mobility in caste system? Family, no. It is the community. The whole community. Not an individual or family. It's not that Shivaji rose in rank by acquiring political power. Marathas became Kshatriya. Are you with me? So the unit of mobility in caste system is the entire community. What are the consequences of mobility in class society? Class system mein, what are the consequences? In other words, if I acquire wealth, more wealth, if I become richer, I was lower class, I become upper class or middle class. What happens? साफ बात है, the material conditions of the individual changes. The material conditions of the individual change. पहले मेरे घर में टीवी, फ्रिज, एसी, सोफा नहीं था, अब आ जाएगा क्योंकि मेरे पास पैसा आ गया है, उससे मैं ये सब खरीद लूंगा. ठीक? So that is the main effect of mobility in class system. That it affects the material conditions of the individual. ठीक? What are the consequences of mobility in the caste system? Sorry? Higher status in the ritual hierarchy. One sec. He's saying that, not me. I agree with it. But that's not the whole picture. Please appreciate the consequences of mobility in caste system are varied and complex. Are varied and complex. One obvious thing which he has rightly mentioned is a change in the ritual rank. Okay, or a change in the rank in the ritual hierarchy. Right? Or a change in one's ritual status. That is one. But apart from that, it can also lead to intercaste conflicts. It can result in intercaste conflicts. Let us say these are various castes. In a village, okay, 13, 15 castes are there. Caste number 10, and they are, ranked in order. Okay, so caste name 10 is at rank 10. Simplicity sake. So say caste number 10 is Sanskritizing and claiming a higher status, that we are here before 6. You and I, we are caste number 9. What will we do? हम क्या हाथ पे हाथ धरे बैठे रहेंगे? नहीं. Are you with me? So they may face opposition from those castes which they are trying to supersede, resulting in intercaste conflicts. It may result in, very counterintuitively, but it may result in increased atrocities. Increased atrocities. आप सोच रहे हो आपकी पोजीशन इंप्रूव होगी, बट एक एडवर्स रिएक्शन हो सकता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल फ्रेंड्स, यू मे हैव रेड इन न्यूज or heard in news that, youth from the Dalit community, they were subjected to some sort of a public humiliation, or they were beaten up. When they rode a groom, when a Dalit groom, say, rode a horse during his marriage procession. Are you with me? So that is in the sense of a backlash from the higher castes. So atrocities बढ़ सकती हैं, जुल्म बढ़ सकते हैं. It can lead to divisions within the community. One sec. It can also result in divisions within the community. For example, let us say we are all 10. Okay? You guys are 9. You guys are, ठीक है, 1. जाओ. Now, some of us may think that let us Sanskritize. But others may feel that we should not take Panga just as yet with 9. Are you with me? Otherwise we will receive a pushback. So big deal. If we differ in any community, differences may happen. Is it a big deal? It is. In caste system, it is a big deal if there is a fracture in the community. Why? मैं अपनी बेटी किससे ब्याऊंगा? I have to seek marriageable mates from within the community. Are you with me? So a lot of complications, complexities are associated with mobility in the caste system. ठीक? Nextly, friends. Nextly, मतलब staying with these differences about mobility in caste and class. When is it, say caste number 10 is claiming that we are here? When is this claim established? How? When is it established that, okay, now you are not here anymore, you are here? When? How does that happen? Nee, how? Like, when can we conclusively say that caste number 10 has risen in rank? When? Raise your hands, huh? Absolutely. When others accept, and which others? Higher castes. Absolutely. So mobility in the caste system is contingent upon or dependent upon acceptance of the claims of mobility or higher caste status by others or higher castes. साफ बात है, if caste number 1, if earlier they were accepting water from 6 and not me, if now they start accepting water from me and not 6, then that conclusively establishes that I have, caste number 10 has improved in rank above 6. Are you with me? I repeat, so mobility in the caste system is dependent upon the claims of higher status, higher ritual rank being accepted by other castes या higher castes. I repeat, in case any of you have not written, that mobility in the caste system is contingent upon the claims to a higher ritual rank being accepted by the higher castes. ठीक? What about class system? When is it established that you've become richer? When it is accepted by other rich people? No. It is not dependent upon any sort of, acceptance by others. मेरे पास आ गया पैसा तो आ गया, मैं हो गया रिच. आपको मानना है मानो, नहीं मानना ना मानो, मेरी बला से. मान ना मान तू मेरा मेहमान. Yes or no? So, mobility in the class system is not dependent on others. The pace or the speed of mobility. Next point. The speed of mobility. You tell me, where do you expect it to be faster? Class या caste? Class या caste? Class. Clearly, it is faster in class system. I am born poor. Can I become rich within my lifetime? Very much possible. Very much possible. Yes or no? It can happen within one person's lifetime. But mobility in the caste system is much slower. Typically takes several generations before claims to a higher status are accepted by others. ठीक? So, clearly friends, though mobility is present in both caste system and class system, the nature of mobility in the two systems is vastly different. The nature of mobility in the two systems is vastly different. ठीक? So it will be very erroneous to equate caste with class. दोनों में है मोबिलिटी, पर इसका मतलब यह नहीं है कि कास्ट क्लास है. ठीक? I repeat, though mobility is present in both caste and class society, the two systems are qualitatively different from each other. With that, we've earned ourselves a break. प्लीज सेटल डाउन फ्रेंड्स. चलें जीवन में आगे. गाइज, moving on, guys, moving on to discussing. Only 1 second, huh? Because some comments are there. Okay, so one of the students is suggesting Sanskritization still matters in society, completely accepted. Another is saying caste census resulting in radicalization of caste identity in Bihar versus in UP fining people with caste indicators on vehicle. Okay, how do you justify both? We will be talking about caste census in greater detail at a later opportune moment. Does it mean that through renunciation people attain Brahmin caste? The answer is no. You become kind of beyond caste. Caste free in that sense. Or outside the pale of the caste system. चलिए. पता नहीं क्या हो गया. चलिए. कहाँ? Let us now move to discussing origins of the caste system. Origins of caste system. Talking about origins of caste, friends, there are several theories. Okay, कब हुआ था originate? Long back. Okay, so it's like the origins of caste system are they lie in the antiquity, in the long lost past. So there are various theories which try to infer how it must have originated. Out of these theories which we will discuss, one is particularly important from the exam point of view. So that theory we will discuss at length. The others I will summarily, kind of quickly mention. So beginning first with the Chunnu Munnu theories, which are less important. One theory of the origins of caste is the divine. The theory of the divine origins of caste. According to this theory, friends, the caste system has emanated from Varna Vyavastha. The caste system has taken shape from the Varna Vyavastha. And how has the Varna Vyavastha come about? The basis of the Varna Vyavastha lie in the Purush Sukta hymn of the Rig Veda. Which is the hymn of creation, which states that same thing. Brahmins came from the mouth, Kshatriyas from the arms, Vaishya from the thighs, and kya naam hai? Shudra from the feet of Purush, or the cosmic being. So the origins of caste can be traced to scriptures. Not just that, apart from the Rig Vedic hymn, various other Hindu scriptures also sanctify caste. Most notably, most famously, or rather infamously, the Manusmriti. Don't write infamous and all, but most importantly, the Manusmriti. Scriptures, other Hindu scriptures like the Manusmriti also sanctify caste or provide a basis for the caste system. ठीक, this is the divine theory. Another theory is the karma theory, somewhat related to the divine theory. Karma theory. According to this theory, basically the karma philosophy legitimizes or provides the basis of caste inequalities. If I've been born in a lower caste, why is it? Because of my karma in my previous lives. Right? Basically, karma theory states that your past deeds affect your present. What you do in the present affects your future. So one's social position in the caste system, according to this theory, is an outcome of one's past karma. One's position, social position in the caste system is justified on the basis of one's past karma. Okay, and if I am high caste, why am I born high caste? It is also due to my past good deeds. साफ बात है. In another way, the karma theory also basically provides a religious or theological justification for the caste system, right? Quite like the divine theory. In the divine theory, it is suggested that the slight difference being in the divine theory, it is suggested it's a cosmic or divine creation. Here it is suggested it is an outcome of one's own past deeds. ठीक? Another theory of caste, if I may. See, whenever I ask if I may proceed, typically it is, those who want me to proceed who are more vocal. But I will advise those who do not want me to proceed because they are still writing to be more vocal. Otherwise, I will proceed and it's your loss. Right? So, another theory is the occupational theory. Occupational theory regarding the origins of caste. What this theory says that, friends, caste system has emerged from basically occupational guilds. Occupational guilds. The most prominent proponent of this occupational theory of the origins of caste is Nesfield. Nesfield. That's an F. Occupational theory is mainly associated, or most closely associated with the writings of Nesfield. What this theory suggests, that basically, in the olden times there were different occupational guilds. Over a period of time, these occupational guilds developed caste-like characteristics. Occupational guilds over time developed caste-like features. Simply there were different occupational categories. People of a particular occupation wanted to preserve their monopoly over that occupation. They wouldn't want too many outsiders entering into that occupation. So they started developing some closure. For example, they started practicing endogamy, so that the trade secrets, know-how, are you with me? The social links, etc., stay within the community. Occupational guilds over time developed caste-like features like endogamy and closure. Like endogamy and closure, in order to restrict the entry of outsiders. ठीक? These were the less important theories. Now coming to the most important theory of regarding the origins of caste from the exam point of view, it is the racial theory of the origins of caste. Now, racial theory of caste, friends, this is very important, or important from the exam point of view. It has been asked as a standalone question also. Okay? So, in that sense, this theory is the chief proponent of the racial theory of caste is Risley. I'll dictate also, but first I will quickly explain. ठीक? Risley is the chief proponent, and I will be dictating, so you can just, if you please, you can just hear me. What this theory says, that basically caste system emerged as an outcome of racial differences. Out of racial differences. And the desire to preserve racial purity. Simply, why did it emerge? The invading Aryans, okay, they belonged to a separate race, or they looked different from the native inhabitants. The invading Aryans were fair-skinned, right? And when they captured India, they started lording over the local dark-skinned inhabitants, who were termed as Dasyus. The local inhabitants were dark-skinned, known as Dasyus. The invading Aryans were fair-skinned. So when the Aryans came, they wanted to maintain a very strict distinction between the conquered people and the conquerors. So Aryans were quite obsessed with maintaining racial purity. Therefore, they developed the principle of endogamy. They developed the principle of endogamy. Specifically, they were very keen to ensure that the local dark-skinned original inhabitants do not have sexual access to the women, the Aryan women. Okay? See, when an invading army comes, who comes? Mostly men come. Okay? Armies are mostly men. They may have some women accompanying them, but historically, warfare has been a male thing. So, the Aryans, when they came, they were mostly men. So, what they did, they developed this endogamy and they tolerated what? Which system? Anulom. In other words, the invading Aryans could sexually access the dark-skinned women, But the dark-skinned local men were strongly prohibited from accessing the Aryan women, or fair-skinned women. This is how mainly the core of the caste system, which is endogamy and a strict aversion to pratilom, developed. ठीक? Clear? लिखो. पहले इतना लिखो, फिर आगे चलेंगे. We are not done with the racial theory. According to Herbert Risley, the caste system has racial origins. Full stop. When the fair-skinned, long-nosed Aryan race entered India, they conquered the dark-skinned, local inhabitants known as Dasyus. Full stop. To prevent racial intermixing, the Aryans prohibited any sexual or marital relations between the fair-skinned conquerors and the dark-skinned conquered people. Full stop. The mostly male Aryan marauders, मतलब लुटेरे, ठीक है, जो रेड करते हैं, लूट पाट करते हैं. It's not a sociological term, it's an English word. The mostly male Aryan marauders imposed endogamy, accepted which in English, what do you call it? Hypergamy. But strictly prohibited hypogamy. Full stop. A clear distinction was made by the conquering Aryans between the conquerors and the conquered. Full stop. Thus arose the caste system, with its central feature of endogamy, because of the concern of the conquering Aryan race to prevent miscegenation and preserve their racial purity. Full stop. Miscegenation, friends, means basically racial mixing. Okay? And it is a negative connotation. Basically, miscegenation is, to indicate a race being defiled. It is used by higher races. That miscegenation ho gaya matlab defile ho gaye ya impurities corrupt ho gayi race because of sexual contact with the inferior races. ठीक है? So they wanted to prevent miscegenation. It's like an outdated term now, but in this context it fits. Clear? One of the students is commenting, "Sir, Aryan invasion theory has been debunked. Be that as it may, still it is a part of the academic mainstream. And it has been modified. I would not say it has been completely abandoned. Aryan invasion theory has been replaced by Aryan migration theory. But yes, it has been sufficiently challenged now. But that time it was a very, very, very popularly accepted kind of a view. Okay? When Risley was writing it, this was in the early 20th century. Now, staying with racial theory of caste, but moving beyond Risley. Risley, friends, was, likho ek, before we move beyond Risley. Risley wrote that the social position of a caste is inversely proportional proportional mat likho, is inversely related to its nasal index. The social position of a caste is inversely related to its nasal index. Nasal index is an anthropometric measure. Basically, it is a ratio of the width of the nose to the height of the nose. Height मतलब length जो हम बोलते हैं, ठीक है? चौड़ाई divided by लंबाई in percentage terms into 100%. ऐसे करके nasal index आता है. So he said the social position of a caste is inversely related to its nasal index. Simple भाषा में जितनी चौड़ी नाक उतनी नीची जात. ठीक है? So those who have longer and pointed noses are higher in the ritual hierarchy of caste, while those populations which have a broader nose have a lower position in the caste hierarchy. आपने देखा होगा नॉर्थ इंडिया में इसीलिए मदर्स आर ऑब्सेस्ड. ऐसे बचपन से सिखा देती हैं, ये करते रहो. Yes or no? Why? Because a fine and pointed nose indicates a higher social rank. Now, moving beyond Risley Bhai. Okay, now there were several others who endorsed this racial theory. Very importantly, one of them was Gure. Okay? Gure partially accepted the racial theory of caste. We'll discuss Gure's views when we come to Gure. Okay? But there are several other arguments which are given by the proponents of the racial theory of caste as follows. क्या सबूत है? ये सबूत है. इनके हिसाब से तो नेजल इंडेक्स. इन्होंने लिटरली ही बिकेम द सेंसस कमिश्नर ऑफ इंडिया. दिस फेलो लोगों की नाक पकड़ पकड़ के नापते थे. गांव में ये इंस्ट्रूमेंट लेके बैठ जाते थे, ठीक है, एंड गांव वालों की नाक बैठ के नापते थे. नाक एंड वेरियस अदर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स. ही बिकेम लिटरली ऑब्सेस्ड विद नाक. खैर, but there are various other arguments also put forth as follows. One of them is that the word varn means what? Color. The word varn means color. Caste, no, not Risley, I'm generally talking. Okay, other arguments. The word varn means color. Clearly, caste is originated from varn. The word varn itself means color. You may have heard that Bhagwan Krishna is called Sham Varn. Sham Varn meaning dark color या black color. ठीक है, because he is dark skinned. है ना? तो वर्ण शब्द का अर्थ होता है color, which clearly indicates that caste has a racial basis. So the proponents point out the meaning of the term varna being color. Another thing, क्या नाम है ये, Vedic literature. Who has authored the Vedic literature? अरे नहीं, वैसे वाक्यत में. It is the Aryans. Okay, Vedic literature is an Aryan creation. And in the Vedic literature, there are derogatory references. There are disparaging references in the Vedic literature, specifically in the Rig Veda, to those with non-Aryan racial features. I repeat, populations with non-Aryan racial features are referenced to in disparaging terms in the Rig Veda. ठीक है? Disparaging मतलब insulting या demeaning kind of, devaluing kind of references, बेइज्जती करते हुए. For example, non-Aryan races are referred to as noseless, bull-lipped. ऐसे disparaging terms में बेइज्जती टाइप करते हुए ऋग्वेदिक लिटरेचर में नॉन आर्यंस को कहा गया है. नोजलेस, बुल लिप्ड, बुल के जैसे होंठ. ठीक. Another, please appreciate, in 2001 there was a World Conference Against Racism. World Conference Against Racism in Durban. कहाँ है डर्बन? साउथ अफ्रीका में डर्बन में एक वर्ल्ड कॉन्फ्रेंस अगेंस्ट रेसिज्म was organized in 2001. World Conference Against Racism. In this, several Dalit activists, scholars, and civil society organizations, they presented to the conference organizers that caste-based discrimination in India is a form of racism. Caste-based discrimination in India is a form of racism. This was claimed by Dalit activists and civil society organizations. I said during the 2001 World Conference Against Racism, Dalit civil society organizations, claimed that caste-based discrimination is a form of racism. Why they claim so? Simply, friends, the international community, specifically the West, they don't understand caste. Are you with me? But they were acutely aware of race. So, to garner the attention of the international community, the Dalit activists sought to explain caste system or caste-based discrimination to the West in a language that they would understand. So they said that caste-based discrimination is another form of racism. ठीक? Particularly, there was this national campaign in a civil society group by the name of National Campaign for Dalit Human Rights. National Campaign for Dalit Human Rights. They were, leading this crusade, and they argued that caste-based discrimination is a form of racism. In the sense, there are important parallels. Both are birth-based identities, whether it is caste or race. In both, there is intergenerational disprivilege. In both systems, there is intergenerational disprivilege. Disprivilege is transmitted from one generation to the other. Yes or no? In both systems, certain communities are stigmatized. In both systems, certain communities are stigmatized, denied opportunities based on the accident of birth. तो इन्होंने ये कहा, what do you expect would be the reaction of the government of India to these attempts to bring the issue of caste discrimination in a global platform? Government of India would be happy or unhappy? Unhappy, and it was. So the government of India denied these claims. It rejected this proposition that caste is a form of race. Why? साफ बात है, caste discrimination, it is, the government won't want outside or international interference or spotlight on what it regards primarily as an internal matter. So the government vehemently rejected this proposition that caste is a form of race. Moreover, several scholars also, गवर्नमेंट ने आगे कर दिए, हम नहीं कह रहे, इन एकेडमिक से पूछ लो, ठीक है. सो देर आर सेवरल स्कॉलर्स ऑल्सो हु रिजेक्ट दिस नोशन. Scholars like Dipankar Gupta, so if you're writing about the racial theory of caste, you can mention Gupta ji as a criticism, his views as a criticism of the racial theory. We're now discussing these criticisms. Now Gupta ji says what? पहली बात तो ही पॉइंट्स आउट दैट इन द होल ऑफ द ऋग्वेद, नाउ ऋग्वेद इज अ बिग एंड बल्की कंपेंडियम, एंड इन द होल ऑफ द ऋग्वेद देर इज ओनली वन वर्स इन विच यू हैव सच काइंड ऑफ अ डिस्पैरेजिंग रेफरेंस. ओके, ये जो पूरे ऋग्वेद में केवल एक वो है जहां पे एक जगह पे मेंशन्ड है वेयर दी non-Aryans are compared to bull or called noseless. ठीक है, साफ बात है, कह रहे हैं बात का बतंगड़ बनाया जा रहा है. ये नहीं है कि it indicates the tone and tenor, it informs the tone and tenor of the entire Rigvedic literature. एक इंस्टांस को, एक वर्ड्स को plucking it out of context, you are blowing it out of proportion. Those who are claiming that caste is a form of race. दूसरी बात, this reference, okay, calling them bull-lipped, etc., is not necessarily disparaging. Is not necessarily disparaging or insulting. See, in the West, the bull is considered a kind of, a stupid animal. Bluntly, in the West, the bull is considered, or, kind of not a very, it's not a good thing to be compared to a bull. But in Indian culture, the bull is perceived very differently. The bull is considered as exemplifying. हाँ, नंदी के रूप में हम उसको पूजते हैं बुल को. So the bull exemplifies patience, strength. Yes or no? तो बुल से कंपैरिजन नेसेसरली एक डेरोगेटरी रेफरेंस नहीं है. मोरोवर, friends, there are important differences between the racial system and the caste system. There are important differences between the racial system and the caste system. There are some very fundamental differences between the racial system in the West and the caste system in India. For one, what is the outcome of intermixing in the racial system? Say, a black man marries a white woman. Then the product of their union, meaning the child born out of their union, will lie where? He will lie between the mother and the father on the racial scale. ठीक है? But if a Shudra man marries a Brahmin woman, what happens to the child? he is pushed further down or below the father's rank. In other words, friends, intermixing is viewed quite differently in the racial system and in the caste system. ठीक? Intermixing is viewed or treated very differently in the racial system and the caste system. Secondly, another key difference. I'll give you an example first. Many white households, okay, they would employ blacks as cooks or as wet nurses. Many well-to-do white families at the peak of racism employed black cooks and wet nurses. Wet nurse hoti hai basically when I say a white woman is pregnant but she is not producing milk in her breasts, so she would employ a black woman to breastfeed the baby. Okay, they are known as wet nurses. So the white child would suckle the breast of the black woman employed for the purpose, called a wet nurse. ठीक है? Can such a thing happen in the caste system? Can a Brahmin household in traditional Indian society employ a Dalit cook or a Dalit wet nurse? It will be the biggest pap. This thought will even not, cross the Brahmin mind. Why? Because in the caste system, there is a notion of ritual purity and pollution, which is not there in the racial system. Are you with me? So it is not correct. सेकेंड डिफरेंस आपको जो लिखना है, ये लिखना है दैट इन कास्ट सिस्टम देर इज अ नोशन ऑफ रिचुअल प्योरिटी एंड पोल्यूशन. इन कास्ट सिस्टम देर इज दिस नोशन ऑफ रिचुअल प्योरिटी एंड पोल्यूशन विच इज एब्सेंट इन the racial system. ठीक? हाँ, गुप्ता जी कह रहे हैं. आपका दोस्त यार नहीं है कि दीपांकर कह रहा है. गुप्ता जी कह रहे हैं. ठीक? And what do you call? So clearly it is not correct to equate the two. Okay, race and caste are different. Another scholar who rejects this theory that race and caste are same is Andre Bete. Andre Bete. He says to equate caste with race is politically mischievous. शरारत है ये. And scientifically nonsensical. Simply, it's a political mischief. In the sense, the primary reason for making this argument is to ensure international spotlight and interference in India's internal affairs. No doubt, no denying we have caste-based discrimination. Scholars like Gupta or Bete don't deny that there is a lot of caste-based discrimination, even atrocities, present in Indian society. But then, at the end of the day, it is about our society. Andre Bete is Indian, by the way, if you are wondering. So, it is about our society, and we are taking corrective measures. For example, untouchability has been constitutionally prohibited. There are specific laws prohibiting atrocities against the scheduled castes. The constitution expressly provides for throwing open public spaces, temples, etc. to all castes. Yes or no? So, बहुत सारे इंटरनली कदम लिए जा रहे हैं, तो ये शरारत मत करो कि आप बाहर से हस्तक्षेप हमारे अंदरूनी मामलों में करवाओ. ठीक? So politically, it is mischievous, and scientifically, it is nonsensical. Simply, if you look at are there racial differences in Indian society? Clearly there are. But the racial differences are pronounced. How? How do you find different races? Across castes. You are looking at people in this room. Can you identify a person's caste based on their looks? You can't. Racial differences are pronounced matlab very visible or very apparent. Regionally, absolutely. So, a high caste person from Uttar Pradesh racially is closer to a lower caste person from Uttar Pradesh than from a high caste person from Kerala. Yes or no? Racially, UP high caste will look similar to a UP lowest caste than the high caste person in Kerala or Tamil Nadu. So the differences are across, the racial differences are across regions, not across castes. ठीक? So, race is not, caste is not a type of or a form of race. Andre Bete categorically rejects. Last. खुश हो गई बिटिया. But definitely not the least. The racial theory of caste is rejected by who? Any guesses? No less than Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Ambedkar also rejected the racial theory of caste. According to Ambedkar also, anthropometric data does not support the racial theory. ठीक? According to Ambedkar also, anthropometric data does not support the racial theory of caste. अर्थात जो भी फेशियल या फिजिकल मेजरमेंट्स वगैरह हैं, उनके हिसाब से हम ये कंक्लूसिवली नहीं इस्टेब्लिश कर सकते कि डिफरेंट कास्ट्स बिलोंग टू डिफरेंट रेसेस. विद दैट वी कॉल इट अ डे. धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.